What is up, Tube users, and welcome back to another Fantastically Fun Games for under $15. Today, we are talking about one of my favorite nostalgic yet new games, Nightmare Reaper. This game usually has a somewhat steep price tag for what I feel the game is actually worth, but right now it is on sale for $15, and I feel like that's a great price point to go and get this game. So get it while the sale is up, and I think it lasts until Saturday or Sunday. I'm not exactly sure right now, but it's only $15 and it is definitely worth that price. What I love so much about this game is it has that nostalgic feel of like the 90s Wolfenstein and Doom games, yet it has mechanics of a modern first person roguelike shooter, and it just crams so much nostalgic things into a game. It's just great fun to play. And I truly think that the soundtrack for this game is one of the best soundtracks in any game that I have played. There are very few like actual gaming soundtracks that I have like on a playlist, and Nightmare Reaper is definitely one of them. Just every single thing, every single song just totally brings me back to playing Doom and just slaughtering a bunch of enemies, which is basically what this game is. But it adds that roguelike element that makes it so much more fun and so unique to any other roguelike. So each stage that you clear, you get to save one weapon, and typically like I've saved this chainsaw for basically my entire run through because it's just so good, and I haven't found a gun that's nearly as good as this, and we'll get into some of the details of that in a little bit. But I think the other thing that makes this really fun is how you level up like your different skills and talents that you can unlock. I'll show that off in a little bit after I clear this level, but it is so fun and interesting how you actually level up your skills in this game. I won't spoil it. I'll just show it in a little bit, but it is really cool. And this game is just like one of those games similar to Gunfire Reborn to me. Like there's just sometimes I just want to kill massive amounts of enemies and just enjoy my time doing it. And this game just does that perfectly. I mean, it has those 2D graphics, but it really feels modern with just how much they're able to like 3Dify the graphics of this game, and it like definitely plays like a modern shooter. So even though you get that nostalgic feel from the graphics and stuff like that, it really just feels like something that you would play today. And like everything just like brings me back to playing Wolfenstein and Doom. Like you have your like little character in the bottom left hand screen that will get bloodied as you get lower and lower health. You have your 3D, or not 3D, you have your like square map that you have in the top right hand corner and then there's like little secrets that you can find. And some of the secret rooms I wasn't able to show any off in this playthrough, but they definitely harken back to other games, which is really cool to see just in like little secrets like that, you know. And the gunplay, I mean, any FPS game kind of just lives and dies by the gunplay, and this game is no different. The gunplay in it is just absolutely phenomenal. So many different weapons that you can choose from, so many unique weapons even with different abilities that will be attached to each one, just makes it so unique and fun to play. Like, I mean, this gun that I'm using is like a rail gun that will just randomly do a multi like nade shoot like that, and it's just so fun just to see all these different combinations of weapons in the game and what you're able to do with them. And so I think if you were a fan of like the old school Wolfenstein, Doom, old school Doom games, like this game is definitely for you. It has all the feel of that game, but just with a modern style of gaming, and it is just so satisfying to just go through and slay tons of enemies and just rock out to a great playlist as well. But it's not only Doom and Wolfenstein that this game has nostalgic feels for. It's also in the upgrading system in the game, which I'll show you right here. You go in, and to upgrade your abilities, you actually play like cartridges on your like Game Boy Advance that you have as like your menu screen, and there's a multitude of different games you play. Like this one here is kind of like a Mario-esque type of game. You have like a old school Pokemon game. There's what other ones? There's like a rail shooter kind of game. There's a whole bunch of different ones. I only show off a couple here, and they actually are pretty tough. Like I recall like Mario and stuff being tough playing those back in the day, but man, this game is unforgiving. But it's a cool little like break from all of the shooting mayhem in this game. So we've gone over a lot of the good in this game, but I think it's important to go over some of the not so great or bad things in this game. And first off, I think one of the things that is really frustrating is how important leech is to this game, especially when you get later on into the game. Leech is just such an important stat to have on a weapon. That's mainly why I've used the chainsaw that I have for as long as I've been using it, because it has leech, and you just don't have enough health to sustain through as many enemies as you're trying to mow down in later stages. The difficulty for this game also ramps up incredibly quickly, and it is very unforgiving. It just seems like you go in and you're moving at a really good pace to start out, and then all of a sudden you just hit a brick wall and just can't get past a level because you're not getting good like rolls on stuff. You just don't have the weaponry to deal with the enemies that you're facing. It can be kind of frustrating. And the same goes for these mini games for leveling up your abilities. There's just some of, especially like in the Mario ones, that are just so incredibly difficult. And if you're not like, I mean, it's a totally different skill set to actually playing the first person shooter aspect of this game. And if you're just not skilled enough, you're just not going to be able to progress in your skills, which will in turn not allow you to progress in the shooting aspect of this game, which is kind of frustrating actually. And the rarity of weapon drops that are actually good is also super unsatisfying. Like this chainsaw I've used basically from the start, because you are able to save one weapon each time you go in, and I haven't found anything better. Sure, there's other weapons, and a melee weapon is definitely not the best, especially when you get later on with enemies that can just melee through this. But it's just so incredibly frustrating just not to find anything, because you need the leech. Like, you're not going to survive very long in the later stages without some sort of leech. There's just not enough health to go around. And I guess this isn't really complaint. Maybe it's just confusion on my end. But when you start up the game, you're in this asylum, and basically the whole like story aspect of the game is you're going into your nightmares and fighting off enemies while you're trapped in an insane asylum. And in there you can move around, and there's actually upgrades that you can get from like progressing in the game, but it doesn't really make it clear when there's progression. I just find myself having to explore the different halls and just wait to see if a door is unlocked at some point, but it usually never is. And it's like I'll clear through a whole entire level, go back there, and I still won't find any doors unlocked or anything. So it's kind of weird, and also kind of frustrating. But I mean, just for a game that feels like an old school Wolfenstein with great shooting mechanics, this game is definitely still a must-have, even with the bad so it was in this game. I really do feel like, despite all that this game is still super fun to play. Really satisfying to see all those blood parts spill out of enemies and just slaughter so many beings in a row is really fun. Also, while listening to probably one of the best soundtracks I feel in a game. Like it definitely hits every nostalgic aspect that it's shooting for. It hits the Wolfenstein and old school Doom aspect of nostalgia. It has your Super Mario, your Pokemon nostalgia too, just like in old school Game Boy games. It really does do a good job at that, and is what makes it so unique compared to other games that are somewhat similar to this. I feel is just how well it hits the nostalgia aspect. And I don't know if you want to call it like a genre of game, but I really do love those games that have like either nostalgic graphics or kind of just bring you back to some old school game but freshen it up with new and interesting mechanics. And I feel like this game does it best. There's just so much nostalgia packed into this game, from your skill trees being unlocked through different old school games, to just the soundtrack and the gameplay feeling like an old school Doom or Wolfenstein, to just finding these like little secret rooms that give ode to just other games in general too, is really fun and really exciting to see. And while I don't think that it's worth its original price point of $25, when it is on sale, especially for under that $15 price point or at that $15 price point, it is definitely a must-have game to just enjoy, especially if you love those old school 90s shooters like I do. And even if you're still not sold on this game, they do have a free demo. I think it's just the like first stage or something that you play in the demo, but it's definitely worth a look at if you're interested in this game at all, but are skeptical about buying it first off. So that's definitely a route to take. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to check out Nightmare Reaper while it's still on sale. Leave a like. Comment any other fantastically fun games for under $15 you want me to take a look at, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.